Hello everyone, how is going? Avrengost here, and today I'll be discussing the Guild Saga Vanished Worlds demo, distributed during the Steam Next Fest. It's a tactical isometric RPG heavily inspired by Divinity Original Sin 2 mechanics, with a JRPG twist, adding 2D pixelated graphics. This game is being developed and published by Ocelot, and entered early access on the 10th of October this year, just a few days ago. There's a fully developed roadmap leading up to its planned full release in the fourth quarter of 2025. The demo is about 2.5 hours long, giving you a taste of the introduction and early story progression. The premise revolves around you being a young hero from the Heroes Guild, tasked with leading an expedition to the newly discovered and largely unexplored continent of Andhra. During your voyage, your ship becomes wrecked on an unknown island, while a dark entity threatens all of humanity. A pretty classic setup, likely an ode to old school RPGs, and I'm here for it. In the demo, you can choose between two difficulty settings, story mode or normal. Then, naturally, one of the first things you'll encounter in any RPG is character creation. You can somewhat customize your pixelated character, and in addition to cosmetic options, you select your race, hinted to have some impact on how the world reacts to you and your starting weapon. Then, you pick your background, which provides bonuses, and your inclination, a kind of psychological trait for your character. I love when RPGs consider the psychological attitude of a character, and I'm excited to see this feature and hope it will significantly influence the choices you'll make in the full release. Next, you'll allocate points into your classic RPG style attributes, which are divided into primary and secondary categories, as well as into combat and magic schools. After that, you'll choose your skills and talents in a system that closely mirrors Divinity Original Sin's mechanics. You can gain more abilities through books, and mastering them requires having a minimum score in the relevant attribute. Once character creation is complete, you're introduced to the ship that's taking you to the new continent. Here, you can learn how to interact with containers, NPCs, and change areas. You'll meet two future companions and get a bit more context about the setting. Then, you go below deck to rest, but instead you have a nightmare. In it, you catch a glimpse of the dark entity threatening the world and get a sort of combat tutorial. The game seems to teach its mechanics to you by trial and error. Shortly after, your ship wrecks and you are rescued by some pilgrims. You wake up at their camp, meet your companions and some new colorful NPCs and merchants, and you're free to explore the island where you washed ashore. In the demo, you can explore a wilderness area on this island, which includes a dungeon filled with treasure and a side quest. You'll fight hostile wildlife and pirates alike. Your new companions can be customized within certain limits. One is a geomancer who can also be built as a ranger, while the other is a warrior capable of wielding air magic. Depending on how you've built your main character, there's a flexibility in party composition, which is always a good thing. Regarding combat, it seems to be a central aspect of Guild Saga, borrowing heavily from Divinity Original Sin 2. Both you and your enemies have two types of armor, physical and magical, that need to be depleted before you can deal real damage. I find this interesting because when DOS 2 was released, this mechanic wasn't universally praised. It encouraged players to create parties centered entirely around either physical or magical damage to become effective faster, instead of wasting turns depleting both types of armor. I didn't expect to see this system reappear outside some Larian game. Aside from that, combat is turn-based with an initiative queue at the top of the screen. Movement points and action points are represented by orange and blue big dots in the combat UI. You can cast as many abilities as your action points allow, with the ones present in the demo costing 1 to 3 APs. If you have any unused points at the end of your turn, the game will confirm if you really want to end it, and unspent points will roll over to the next turn. As expected, abilities range from attacks to buffs, crowd control, healing, restoring armor, and more. If you're familiar with these kinds of games, you'll get the idea. The game feels fairly unforgiving early on, reminiscent of the challenge Fort Joy posed in Divinity Original Sin 2 during your first playthrough, when you're still getting a hang of the systems. Using positioning effectively is key. Many attacks require proper positioning, allowing hits only from the front, back, or sides, and if a companion is in the way, the attack will be blocked. The demo's combat areas are quite small, putting even more emphasis on dominating the battlefield. At the end of each battle, there is a summary screen displaying your performance, which feels very much in the style of classic JRPGs. One significant difference from DOS 2 is that in Guild Saga you can't rest everywhere. This is the biggest challenge I found in the demo. You take a lot of damage in combat, but don't have a good way to heal unless you backtrack to a healer or find a specific healing interaction. The fact that such interactions exist makes me think this is a deliberate design choice rather than an early development stage's missing feature, adding a layer of difficulty to the game. Another issue I found was the lack of transparency with the environmental assets. If an enemy hides behind a building or a tree, it's difficult to target them with your skills. I really hope this will be fixed later because it can break combat. That pretty much sums up my thoughts on the Guild Saga Vanished Worlds demo. While I haven't played many JRPGs, so I can't speak much to that influence, I'm intrigued by the world, lore, and classic high fantasy storytelling. My only hesitation is how much it borrows from Divinity Original Sin 2, as that's a pretty big comparison to live up to. As mentioned, the game is already in early access, so if you're interested, you can try it out and give feedback to the developers. Thanks so much for watching, I really appreciate it. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me reach more gamers around the world. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.